So using the information that I provided in the Bewitchment how-to video, I myself built an underground vault full of natural leaves and trees and other things placed right underneath where my summoning circle would be for Bewitchment. This provided me with a whopping 1220 worth of magical energy to use for all my future Bewitchment needs. To keep that vault safe, I went ahead and covered it with deep slate cobble to make sure that no fire could spread to it and it would forever be there to power my rituals. After that, we took one of our giant beetles to the nether and decided to do a little exploration. We needed to find a demon horn which dropped off of a hellhound. We started out checking out this golden city that was across from where my portal was. It was really pretty there and the architecture was neat, but it was mostly an empty structure. Kind of disappointing actually. We found our first nether fortress. Check that out. Again, not a lot going on there, but we did see what was there. After a bit more exploration, I finally spotted my first hellhound, and we took him out from a distance, and I collected my very first demon horn. Since the rituals that we were going to be doing required a more, let's say, human touch, I went to the nearby villages and found some volunteers to come help me with my rituals. Using said volunteers, I threw down the necessary components to summon our first demon and asked that volunteer to make the ultimate sacrifice. And then I asked the demon to also make that sacrifice, and we acquired our first demon heart. Afterwards, I took a little bit of time and I made my ritual area a little nicer looking. Gave it a proper floor, put a salt circle around the ring, made sure that there was nice decor. We were going to be spending some time doing some rituals here, so had it all up and fancy in no time. So then we cracked our Book of Shadows and we took a look at the chapter on brooms. There are 4 different types of brooms. Each has its own bonuses, but in the end we wanted to make the final broom, which was a combination of all 4 brooms. And each broom type itself required a demon heart to craft. So that meant we were going to have to do some more sacrificing. Then we crafted a Bewitchment specific waystone, which was just some ender pearls and stone. And we used that waystone to mark a location in the center of our volunteer pit. Then rounding up all of the villagers into a new summoning circle that we built in the middle of a village, we used the waystone and some earth ichor and cast us a new spell, which transported all of my new volunteers and myself back to the location marked by that waystone, back to my base, back to the volunteer pit. Then me and my new volunteers started collecting demon hearts. Once we had crafted each of the 4 different types of brooms, we combined them together with a nether star and a few other items, and we got ourselves the final broom. Let me tell you, this sucker is fast. You could really travel around the world really quickly with this guy. It uses only a little bit of magical energy. You'll find you have to go back to base from time to time to recharge, but using the other waystone system, that's not too hard to do. This meant we had free roaming movement for the rest of our game finally. After this, I started looking at the Archon mod, and part of the Archon mod provides a Necromancy branch of magic. So using what they call a soul scythe, I went, found me a raid on a village, and started killing pillagers with the soul scythe. And I was looking to collect souls off those villagers. At home, we combined those souls with some bones, and we made some soul cores, as they're called. Then, taking a look at the Archon book again, we crafted what was called a Staff of the Undead. Then, using that humanoid soul core and our Staff of the Undead, we summoned our first skeleton. Since the skeleton came from a humanoid soul, we're able to give it armor, and so we armed up our new skeleton guardsman. Then we used our other soul core to get us another skeleton. In this one, we gave a different set of armor, so that we could tell them apart. After that, since we had already started looking at the Archon mod, we took a look at the section on bosses, and it turns out that there is an altar that you can craft to summon those bosses, so we did. The 4 bosses are representatives of the 4 elements of the world, the first being Tar, boss of Earth. The second is Isla, mistress of the air. Then you have Levin, master of the seas. And finally, Inigo, the Fire Lord. Then we found an open field, put down our altar, and provided the items needed to summon Isla. Turns out, she wasn't so tough. Next, we summoned Levin. He was a little harder to kill than Isla. but not by much. Next, we called in Inigo. But again, he didn't provide much challenge. Then came Tar, and as it turns out, fighting a mob who's immune to archery is hard when you're an archer. Eventually, since he was immune to my arrows, I just switched to the sword. And though I'm bad with melee weapons, we eventually got the job done. With the elemental deities out of the way, we decided to go after the bigger demons. The first was Baphomet, so killing a sheep, we summoned him into our world. And he was rough. He threw a lot of fireballs. He destroyed chunks of my world. He even destroyed the salt line. He could have escaped. It wasn't for the wall that we had around our circle. He would have got out. But in the end, even Baphomet wasn't much of a challenge for us. Next was Leonard, and he also required a sheep sacrifice. He came with witches as his familiars, but Leonard also not a challenge, and we took care of him quickly. Lilith was the next target, and unlike the others, she was summoned on a mountaintop, with burning ingredients in a brazier and killing a chicken. She brought with her vampires, but again, my power had grown beyond even the demons. She did put this interesting curse, Mortal Coil, on me, and I wanted to know what it did. Oh. Next came the demon Hearn, and his sacrifice was a wolf. His familiar were the werewolves. But, like the others, Hearn fell as well. Finally, using a scroll of torment on this poor unsuspecting pig, we unleashed Beelzebub himself on a sleepy village. We were wearing our witch's gear at the time, so he didn't attack us, so we sat back and watched as he traveled through the village and killed everything in his path. Of course, just like the others, he was a one-shot, one-kill. Beelzebub dropped this demonic deed, which when signed in your own blood, allows you to make demons into your personal pets. So you know we had to start summoning some more demons. using salt circles just in case. I think they make nice decorations as guards on this door. Finally, it was time to transform myself into the Lich. This began with cursing myself with apathy. This meant I couldn't have any magic, and villagers and animals would run from me. It didn't show an icon, but we could test this. I would say that's a successful test. The final step to becoming a Lich is to sacrifice one of your demon pets, which I happily did. Upon transforming into my final form, I noticed that all of my magic was gone, and I walked really slowly. A Lich without souls in his phylactery is a weak thing indeed. So, we had to start collecting some souls. So, a quick visit down to our volunteer pit. And we had our first soul, which we took upstairs and deposited into the phylactery. I immediately noticed a difference in my speed, and I actually started to gather magic energy again. So you know what that meant. So I knew I was going to need more souls from my phylactery. So, down here, I set up my own little village. And by village, I mean a bunch of beds and a bunch of doors. And I brought in some more volunteers. And then I bred them. And then decided I wanted to auto-breed them. So over here, I set up a carrot farm with a farmer and a drop point for baby villagers who would then go through a water trap and come up here where I could grab them. As long as I put another villager in there with him, he keeps them fed, they breed, and it just keeps producing more villagers. It's a pretty easy setup here. The beds are needed for it to do that. And then I also went ahead and built myself a prison back here where I could start storing villagers. So I'll probably do away with the village over there and just use the dungeon here to store villagers as they are created in my farmer breeder. Hey, also, I got a mending book again, so that's awesome. And then I set myself up a little laboratory here where I could bring the villagers as I needed to, and I could collect their souls out of this cage and put them in my phylactery. And eventually I realized you could only have 8 souls at a time in the phylactery, so that would be max powered. But the interesting thing when you are a max powered Lich is you gain this ability here. If you press your activate button, Lich form. And Lich form allows you to travel through solid materials and fly. You don't have forward control. You can't stop yourself from moving forward, but you can go in any direction. But this is powerful. This is really powerful. And as such, it uses a lot of magic energy. As you can see, my magic energy bar is just draining off. But that's okay, because we are now Red Specs Gaming the Archlich, the Scourge of the Overworld.